sounds right, too.
There is an
I've
invoice?
seen some
Oh, is it?
training stuff.
There is an invoice? Oh, it just wasn't attached to this?
Yeah.
See, if you did it online like he does, you get everything.
He found it.
They're recording.
Thank you. All right, we'll get the meeting started. We'll start with the manager's report.
Okay. Just to start out, before I get into my report, just want to ask if anyone has any questions on the agenda. We've all seen the agenda for Monday night, I hope. Any questions, or concerns, or missing items, or?
The appointment to the appeals, I don't think that's on the agenda.
It is, it's way at the end.
It is? Okay.
Yeah,
That's,
I
was looking for it and I didn't see it, so. That was there.
Yeah, 23, city council appointment.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So everyone bring your pillow and sleeping bag. It's going to be a lengthy meeting.
I took a look at the agenda and I said, I'm gonna go over that this weekend. I got a few little time.
It's going to be hopefully the DOT presentation will be brief. It's a busy week this week. I guess we'll start right off. I met yesterday with Councilor O'Halloran, and he brought forward to me a concern that had been conveyed to him by the owners, operators of the Main Coast Mall regarding the abatement, negotiation, and mediation that I had kind of filled you in on a few weeks ago, and the time in which it's taking for that to get in front of the council for approval. The delays were legal delays. I can't speak to whether it was our attorney, their attorney, or what, but we just got the final draft of, or the final version of the settlement last week, so it was far too late to make it on the July agenda. So I informed both our council, who conveyed it to their council, that we'd get it on the August agenda, and I didn't hear anything, so I assumed that was acceptable. But apparently, the Main Coast Mall representatives aren't particularly thrilled with waiting until the August agenda. So my request is, after speaking with Councilor O'Halloran, there's no reason to delay it. If the council is willing to have a special meeting to specifically address that issue, and get that agreement in front of you all and potentially signed prior to the August meeting. So my request would be that we schedule a special meeting for either next week or the week after to get that matter resolved.
So is the reason because they want their money? Is that why they don't want to wait until August, or is it just because they just want it done?
I think it's a combination. I think, and certainly Mr. O'Halloran can speak to it further, but I think it's, obviously I think the money probably is partially motivated. I think also this is it's been going on since 2019, and I think through the frustration and their belief, which is partially inaccurate, but their belief is that a lot of the delays have been the fault of the cities, which isn't necessarily the case, but it's their impression nonetheless. So I think they would like to have the matter resolved and put behind them, and I'm certain that the money that's owed to them is partially motivated as well. But
yeah, I could speak to that. I received a call from Dan McIntyre and asked me to go to the Main Coast Mall. I did, and of course he's a little hot about the subject, and it's in his opinion, and again I'm giving you both sides here, but in his opinion it's dragged on too long. And to Gwen's point, I'm sure it's the legal sides that have dragged it on, but his view is the city has their money and he's agreed to interest-free in 3 payments in exchange for a valuation agreement of $14.5 million. And he, somewhere along the way, was led to believe it was gonna be on the July agenda. And so he was asking what could be done to get it on the July agenda. And I said, well, all I can do is go talk to Glenn. Glenn was in the negotiations, and see if Glenn's on board with settling this quicker or not. So I called Glenn, and we sat down and talked about it, and I asked Glenn's opinion. They both told me the same story, and they would like to get that behind them. It wasn't told to me, but I believe Dan is here in town for a shorter period of time in August, and he feels like it's been gone on way too long, and he's saying that he would probably push the deal off the table and go through the regular process. I don't know if that's the case, but he said this has gone on way too long. Certainly, it's a substantial amount of money, and in his view, the city's had his money for long enough, interest-free. And again, and I told him that I would speak with Glenn, if Glenn was on board, then we could seek the chairman's position on that, and see if we can expedite that before August, get it wrapped up.
Is Dan an owner, or is he the manager?
He is an owner's representative. He's married to one of the McQueen girls, and he clearly states himself as the owner's representative every time I've been around.
Who's the manager of the meeting?
Jared Wilson.
Jared, yeah.
So what is that, what is it that has to be done at the meeting?
So we have to have an executive session for you all to have an opportunity to discuss the agreement. And then we would come out of executive session and take a vote to authorize the manager to sign the mediated agreement between the two parties. And I think, and maybe I didn't, I will forward that agreement on to the council today, and obviously for you all to review it. And so it wouldn't take long, and then the agreement according to the agreement, we have 30 days from when the agreement is authorized by the council to make that first payment. Let's do.
Basically, since we're taking up an executive session, that agreement's confidential at this point, right?
Right, correct.
It's not subject to release.
Right. No, it wouldn't be until you all authorized it.
I
That
just
would
wondered
be-
if you're gonna send it out.
Oh yeah, make sure you tell that.
Yeah.
You're the mayor, it's up to you.
Well, it's not, because the council can also schedule it. I don't have a problem scheduling it, but it's.
Do we have another-
But the council can schedule
We have a workshop, but that's.
When is the workshop?
the 14th.
The 14th.
It's a week before the next meeting.
Right.
So it's not, that really isn't gonna.
I mean,
Right.
if you scheduled one today, if you picked a date today, for example, we could expedite it as much as the week after next, because we could get it in the newspaper next week, and then have a meeting, which would be,
24th.
yeah, the first. Next week, yeah, so potentially we could have a meeting. I'd prefer to have a meeting maybe the first week of August, because that would give us, well, no, I guess we could do it the 24th, because we could run it in the newspaper next week, announcing the meeting, and then one day the week of the 24th, have the actual meeting. If that was agreeable.
I mean, it's a couple of weeks difference. It's still then, potentially it's 30 days out. Does it have to go back to the attorneys once?
Nope. No, they've already signed off on it, our attorneys.
Okay, so is the city in a position to act on that immediately in terms of, is it gonna take 30 days, or after, if it's approved,
in order for us to cut the check.
Yeah.
Um,
Only ask in terms of just understanding what the
Yeah.
timeline looks like.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, we have the money, the funds available to cut the check, so.
How much is it?
120-odd thousand, just off the top of my head.
Per
The
payment?
first payment.
First payment.
So there's 3 payments. The first payment is 50% of the 300 and some that's owed. And then the second and third payments are both 25%, but they're subsequent years. So next year it'll be 25%, and the final year will be the final 25%, the final year of the agreement.
Can you just send out an email, I guess, and ask the,
We could schedule it as,
Yeah, I mean, there's 4 of you here, so.
well, I know, but we're not supposed to do that at the finance committee meeting, so
Oh, right, right.
we don't make decisions.
Wasn't that, are you available, because that was the week that you were not, right? Because it's.
First week in August.
No,
I'm
last week
available
in July.
last- I'm available, your suggested date, the 24th.
The week of the 24th.
of July. Oh, you're looking at
Yeah.
July 24th.
July.
Yeah, the last week of July, because that
If
would
If
give
you
us,
call a meeting,
that would give us next week to run it in the newspaper, and then we could have it that following week.
I might add too, that during that conversation, there was some real battles, or they expressed some real battles over the tax assessor of the city of Ellsworth being off by 1/3 according to the state. Now, in fairness to that, the tax assessor has appealed the state's decision, and that's what I was told. So, just to lay everything on the table here, I don't know what that means, but I do know that it seems like short of getting a black eye, worse than we've got, I would think that putting this to bed would make a lot of sense.
Wow. So let's, because this really doesn't have anything to do with finance anymore, if we could just, I don't care, but, that's up to you to send out to the council and for the date. I'm free either the 24th or the 31st, so. You're not available the 31st?
No, that's
No, no, no.
not. I
was
wasn't
thinking
available on the, what, the 7th?
On the 7th. I thought,
Oh, okay.
I thought I
Yeah,
heard
okay,
that.
all right.
Well, that's why I asked.
So
Okay.
I'm available either the 24th or the 31st, so that just should be sent out to the rest of the council and see. Because we can't make a decision with that here, so.
Correct,
Well, we can do it Monday. We
Well,
can,
do we already have an executive session on Monday?
We do?
yes.
Yeah, but we don't.
no,
Well,
no,
we
we
can
can't do
determine
that.
the
We
meeting.
can't, we can
Determine
schedule
the
a
meeting
meeting.
date.
We can schedule a
Oh,
meeting.
yes.
We can coordinate, get that rather than
Well,
just try
that,
to.
yeah, try to do it now, yeah.
It's only,
Okay.
Okay.
we'll schedule that. Find
Monday
a-
night.
Monday night, get a date that works that week of the 24th.
That'll work.
There we go. Thank you.
Yep. So I attended the Communications Committee meeting with the council and Maura. Not necessarily a lot of finance-related stuff, but there was some there was some desire from that group for potential additional spending on newspaper type of activity. So just to kind of keep you abreast of that, and probably at Monday's meeting, one of the members will address the full committee, the full council on that. But work continues on that, and Maura's been doing a great job on improving our social media presence and also helping with print information as well. She's started doing a monthly newsletter that is attached to the web, and printed copies in City Hall, and it looks really good and has a lot of really great information in it. So, also attended the software committee meeting, and just kind of give you an update. We're moving forward with the outsourcing of payroll, and later this month we're going to be having like a kickoff meeting with Paychex, the company that's going to be doing the payroll. And also moving forward slowly, unfortunately, with the migration to the new software, Casella, the new software. We're still waiting on them. They have, everything we need is in place, but we're waiting on them for their implementation team to be freed up to come here and do that implementation. So we're still targeted for October 1, which will allow us not to have to pay a significant amount to Munis to continue with their services for the remainder of the fiscal year. So fingers crossed that progress continues.
Is that, in terms of the contractually, has that project been pushed out, or is it still running on schedule? Has it been delayed, so are we now bumped up against that deadline?
No, I don't.
I just can't remember the history.
Yeah, I think, no, I mean, I don't think they they were not contractually obligated for any specific date.
Okay.
Because when we originally purchased the software and signed the contract, we didn't necessarily have a specific target date. It was like over a year ago now. It wasn't until this year that things started to we started to be dialed in and think we could actually make that October date. So when we did the budget, the anticipation was we were going to be able to make that October date, so we didn't budget to pay Munis. So now we're up against it a little bit more, and that has been conveyed to them. So we should be able to keep that October date. Lisa is here to address one topic, but I just want to keep everyone abreast. We have had some, I don't know if they were necessarily unforeseen, but we have had some issues on Christian Ridge Road, drainage related. So we're working through those. One we were able to work through relatively quickly with minimal expense added to the project. But this latest one is probably gonna, it's a little bit more entailed, and it's probably, well, not probably, it's definitely gonna be a little bit more expensive. Fortunately, we have DEP funding that we can utilize for stormwater, and these are stormwater related issues. So we have the funds available to address the issue. We're just waiting on engineering to come through with what would be the best way to resolve the drainage problem. So that work continues, continuing the work on the road, but there have been some hiccups along the way so far. We're addressing them as we're presented with them. So, and I think off the top of my head, based on my report, I think that's pretty much all I have that's financial related.
What's an SART meeting?
It's police related. It's
Oh.
domestic violence group.
Don't go into the details, just, is it because once they started digging, is that it was exposed, the problem became known, or was it something that should have been identified in the bidding process, or?
It wouldn't have been something that was expected, no.
Okay.
Well, hold on. Are you done?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
mind if we waylay you and just get into this since we've already started?
Yeah.
All right, sorry. We'll go outside.
Oh, is that what you're here for?
Yeah.
No. She's here for a different matter.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why
Oh, all right. I thought that you were here to tell us that we need more money.
So it's recorded as well, so that because this is being recorded.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
big answer, I just
Oh,
was curious.
well, I'd like to know. So we'll let you go, and then we can answer that question about Christian Ridge, what's going on, and
Yeah,
how much more money.
With the, which one do you want first?
Christian Ridge.
Okay,
Well, there was
so,
two.
Oh.
One was resolved for
so one's resolved, it was
4,000.
under $5,000.
Oh, okay.
The second one, we're working on, and we're waiting for engineering to come back. I don't think, I mean, it's not gonna be, I I don't wanna throw things out there, but I'm guessing it's probably 20 grand max, max. It's a current drainage path goes across private property. Private property owner is not going to allow us to do anything on their property to allow the water to
Improvement.
flow where it needs to flow.
We don't have an easement?
We don't have any, no.
Wow.
So,
And
that's breaking it down to,
And I think in addition, you know, we, with projects, we're trying to get away from this cross-country, private property. It's much cleaner if our infrastructure is in our roadways, or at least in our right-of-ways, so that we can, without complication, have access to doing repairs and doing maintenance and so forth. So, you know, part of our discussion was yesterday, we're gonna have the road torn up. Let's fix it and do it the right way, even if it is, in the long run, it's gonna be more costly, but it's also gonna provide us future security, if you will, to be able to maintain it and keep it working properly.
And people don't want that property dug up. It's reasonable.
You can understand that, you know?
so, and some of the elevation stuff wasn't known until we got into it, that their property was higher, you know, just the whole snowfall, different things, but that's the general.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this next thing, I'm gonna hand out some photos, cause it'll make it easier.
While you're doing that, I will say though, because I have to go across Christian Ridge, because I hate going across Happy Town Road, I just despise it. So, and it's a long way to get to Bangor. But they're doing a great job of flagging and keeping that traffic moving. They really are. It's,
And that was one of the things that we made sure to tell them is that basically the Christian, or the Bucksport Road side gets priority so that it doesn't back up.
I don't like the job of it.
So this next thing is part of, and I have my copies if you wanna look, Steve.
Thank you.
So this next part is part of Reggie's water, main replacement project along the Surrey Road, which includes the Mount View, Hillside, Westwood neighborhood. So one of the things we were hoping to do as part of this project is to, right now, those water mains go up those roads and they're dead ends. To have the water flow better, have some redundancy, and to just not have stagnant water at the ends of these mains. We were hoping to loop the section between Mount View and Hillside through what is right now kind of a dirt road. If you look at the one that's like got treetops, there's kind of a little dirt road at the top here of Hillside. You can kind of see it stub in. That dirt road is across private property. So the question we had and the discussions we started with the owner of that piece of property was, you know, first question was, you know, an easement situation. Would you allow us to have an easement to put the water main through there? And it turned into a discussion of, well, does the city potentially want to purchase this property? Or potentially do a property swap type situation. So the developer that owns this piece of property it also owns, if you go to this other map, owns the lot 33 at the end of Guptill Farm Road. And the question was, the city owns lot number 11, which is landlocked between lot 33 and lot 10, and it runs along the Branch Lake Stream. So you can't really access it from Ridge Bridge Road without a bridge. across the stream to get to that property. The city's owned that lot since about 1975, I believe it says. So the question really here right now is, one is to see if maybe anybody knew the history of why we owned this lot for as long as we have. We couldn't find anything. It's about 32 acres. We didn't find anything in our files that said why we owe it. Assuming it's back taxes or something back in the day. So the question is if there was, any thoughts on the idea of doing some sort of a property swap. This number 11 lot, maybe plus some money for the portion of the lot that we want for the water main. Just kind of thoughts on that.
How much acreage would we need for that? Is it just that road piece? I mean,
So that lot the lot at the end of Hillside is a large lot. We're looking to get about just under 20,000 square feet-ish. Up in that area. So this lot is part of a bigger subdivision, and a lot of it's in conservation. It's required to be in conservation because of there's bald eagles or bats or some sort of animal up there. I can't remember exactly when they built that, so this had to be in conservation. But the only part that's quote-unquote buildable is that 20,000 square feet-ish. It's actually 19,600 square feet. Because this is in the neighborhood zone, the minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet, so it's not house buildable, but it could be sold off to the adjacent property owners if they wanted to own more land, or like that part can be separated from the bigger conservation part.
So when is the work taking place?
The Surrey Road, hopefully, we're putting it out to bid this fall to be done next year.
So an August meeting, if this obviously, if we.
Oh yeah, we're not asking for decisions or anything. Glenn and Reggie will have to come back with all that, but we just kinda wanted to get a temperature on, yeah, this is something to look into or not.
I can't remember why that lot 11 is.
Sorry.
I
No,
know
no,
that
it-
it's there, but I can't remember what.
I feel like it's tax acquired. So there should be a list of all of our tax acquired property somewhere, so.
I think that's the biggest question, would be, why do we own lot 11, is
Remember
there any?
something about the Gupta, there's,
Mhm.
Who would have the tax acquired property list?
Sue,
Tax
but
collector.
It is, okay.
I'll get it for you.
It's probably on that insurance
It is.
list as well. Yeah.
One of the other things too is, right now, just not that it really much matters, but I talked to Larry and got a bunch of numbers and figures. Right now, that little section on Hillside is getting us $11 in tax money. If we were to put this lot 11 back on the tax back on the tax roll, it'd be like $518. So it's $500 gain, but.
And again, this goes to the concept of owning our infrastructure, right? So we don't need, if we do this land swap or work out some sort of agreement with this property owner, we're gonna own that dirt road, with potentially our water line under it. So if we need access to it, it's gonna be much easier for us to be able to do maintenance and do repairs without worrying about property owners.
Not having dead end lines.
Right,
And potentially even, we talked about plowing.
right. I mean, plowing, it
Ease of
makes plowing
plowing, be able
easier,
to
you can
loop.
pave it, the whole, it would
Do some-
essentially, at
Do
some
some
point,
improvements
become
to
a
it and make it an actual throughway as opposed to a
Mm.
dirt road.
Gary Fortier or Steve Beaton might have some background on that property off of Christian Ridge. The city owns it.
Yeah, we'll reach out if we can't find it in the tax acquired property
And
listing.
another question on that property, it says 30 acres, 36 acres or something,
32.
and the taxes on that are another $500 some odd dollars.
Well, right now it's nothing, right, because we own it, but yeah, $518. Because it's only assessed or appraised, it's swampy and wet, and it's landlocked, so it's only appraised at $33,000.
I think it makes sense to, personally, to move forward with trying to, finding out more about the land and making it so we don't have dead end. That's no better. So that we don't have dead end lines, water lines, and then, like you said, the ease of plowing those roads
Buses too.
and the buses going up and around and not having to make turnarounds. And, I'm sure the fire department would love to have that way too, because there's no turnaround at the end of those roads. And there's a dozen different reasons why we should just connect them. I mean, if it was built now, we'd make them connect them, right? So,
Yep.
I agree.
Alright, well then I will leave it in these trusting hands to carry it forward.
Yep, we will move it forward.
Thank you.
Do our research.
Reggie, next time keep the noise down.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know.
That's why I hate
There's
that.
something about it that's hitting me, and I can't remember what it is. I'd have to-
Well, I know it may be sparking a memory, because I know in years past, there was attempts by this same individual and another developer that owns the land on the other side of the stream, to acquire this property from the city.
Yeah.
So-
And so why didn't we?
That I don't know.
So that's what, there's something about it that I just can't put my finger on.
Shall we move on to Ann's report?
We should.
Okay, I don't have a copy of it, so
Yeah.
do it from memory.
We can share.
Okay, so just to join in with the whole Cassell thing, so we're working to try to meet that deadline to be able to transition the books. We're still finding buried mines and things. Right now, we're doing a payroll audit of 22 and 23 for accounting issues. You probably know about this. So that's our goal with respect to May. I don't see her a lot. She's locked in her office. We don't let anyone in there. So that's going on. That's what's going on with accounting at Cassell. And we're also implementing some new rules with respect to fiscal year '24 and coding. So it's gonna slow down the warrant process a little bit, because we're kind of holding people's feet to the fire on coding, because it's been not good. I've also been working on this week all the docs for the TAN that we're gonna be talking about on Monday. One of the issues that I had to deal with respect to that was getting compliant with MSRB. They just made a new rule where you can't have individual memberships anymore. It's for the entity. So now the city has its own MSRB. So we're not, the way it was before, it had to go by a person. So Josh had an account, and then I had to get an account, and now I changed it, and the city has an account. So it makes transition easier. And once I got it all together, I realized that 21 financials weren't uploaded, so I got that done. And I'm kind of playing beat the clock on getting 22 financials up. Brings me to my next subject, which is we meet with the auditors next week for 2 days. Hopefully, we are putting this audit to bed and getting started on the next one. We've kind of already started on the next one because we're seeing, obviously, some of the same issues, so we're trying to knock them out at the same time. So, we're doing that. Operations, obviously, is a big part of my regular day right now. With the transition to the new year, everybody wants their stuff. So I've been doing contracts, and one of the other things that we did with respect to software committee also was we're moving forward with government window, which I think is going to be huge
What is
in
that?
terms of service. It's just a way for people to pay online that's a lot easier than Payport, a lot simpler, and they'll be able to pay anything through that. So it's through Harris, but it's a joint venture with Harris, so Harris doesn't own it. But I just signed off on the documents yesterday for Nate to go ahead and start implementing that. I think it'll be a really good upgrade of service to the community, for sure, of being able to easily pay things online.
What did you say it's called?
Government window?
Yeah, and just two things to just touch base on that. One is the rate will stay the same for credit card users.
Okay, that was my next.
Yeah.
But the new additional resource for our citizens is eCheck, which has no penalty. So they can pay online using eCheck, and they won't have to pay the
2.5%.
additional 2.5% that they have to pay with using credit cards. So,
Oh, that's cool.
so an opportunity for folks to make their payments without having to pay that extra
That would be
percentage.
fabulous.
Yeah, that's the reason why I don't pay mine, so.
Yeah.
Well, now you.
Plus, we're
Now
in
we
here
can.
every week. Plus, we're in here.
Plus, we're in here every week, yeah, but I didn't do that before. So.
Okay, so also, I've been working with Jana and Lisa. Well, now that Lisa's leaving, it's become a little bit bigger project of getting all her files. First of all, we worked together on the grant, trying to get you guys a snapshot of what's going on with grants. Recently finished grants, new grants, grants in the pipeline. But now that she's leaving, we're trying to make sure that all of her files go somewhere safe, because her office is already being, someone's moving into it, somebody else. So I want to make sure that all of that stuff is together, so that whoever comes in to do the new public works director has all of that, because Lisa does tremendous amount of record keeping and administration that we really don't have anyone to do that once she leaves. So Jana and I in planning are trying to kind of all be responsible for it a little bit until we have someone to download it to. So that's a project. And then May and I are leaving next week to go to Augusta and take a class on treasury. So obviously I don't know.
Municipal.
Yeah. So just so we know exactly what we're supposed to be doing. I mean, it's a new thing for me, municipal finance, so
Book for you too, that I found in my stuff.
I have a lot of books that I've been reading, just to know the difference. I mean, the securities piece, it's not too bad, I know that already. But just with the expectations of reporting and what I'm actually responsible for as treasurer, I'd like to know that in a more complete way, instead of just picking it up on the street, you know?
You should take the tax collector.
I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That
I'm
one's a
taking that
good
one too.
class too, because I think it's important to understand, because it gets a bit confusing.
Yeah.
So, especially with timelines and the April 1st date, and not confusing, but just trying to drill it
It's
into
a
your
lot.
head.
Yeah, it's just a lot. Okay, so also, gosh, this is so much. It's mayhem in my office. So we're doing a lot of cross-training with our staff, because we're anticipating that May and I, in addition to our regular operations schedule, we're gonna be buried with audit for the year. So I've started to push things onto my staff, because they're pretty smart. They both have a good municipal background, they both have a good accounting background, So we're doing a lot of cross-training so that we can dump things on them, basically. And another thing is the Juniper Cemetery thing is not going away. Basically, they've abandoned it at this point. But we're in pretty good communications with the bank that holds their operating account, and then, of course, we have the reserve at Bar Harbor. So I guess we're getting a cemetery, and hopefully, I know you have worked some with Christina about figuring out what to do with it. So that's another thing that we're doing. And then I'm working with Bar Harbor on an investment strategy, a short-term investment strategy right now to try to augment some of our reserves as inflation goes sky high. Try to make a little money on the side with our money sitting around. So that's in my, a little bit in my investment policy, but we'll talk about that over time as at the finance committee. I think what else? Yeah, just audit is my life, so that's what I'm doing.
Mark, do you have a question?
Juniper Cemetery, when we talked with Christine, she originally was going to ask about it, know that if you would have it ready for July 4th. I said, you can't wait until then. She was under the impression July 4th was a big cemetery visitation day. Kim told me that. I asked her, I said, you can get it mowed like yesterday, because it really needs it. Do you know if she was had any success in?
Yeah, it was mowed before July 4th. We just paid the guy yesterday.
Okay.
And she went out there to check on it.
Okay, so it's, the mowing is more or less up to date then?
Yeah. We just are really looking for, and then of course we had to remove a tree. Somebody planted a tree in the middle of the cemetery. So that
Yeah,
was a
trees
thing.
and cemeteries don't go well.
I know. It was really bad.
Yeah.
They wanted, it was like on the grave, so can't
It
do
was,
that.
oh,
Yeah,
So, I'm sorry, and who's Christine?
she's one of my
AP.
deputies.
Oh, okay. So what do we, I mean, is the council, is that gonna be brought to the council in
August.
August? Okay.
Yeah, we've been
Hoping-
trying to work, Christina's been trying to work with the
Anybody.
current organization, trying to find somebody who within it that's willing to step forward and
Everyone's dead.
and
pretty much.
maintain, but we're just not having any luck. So, and we dealt with this last year, so it's coming back again. Last year, we managed to, just kind of limp it through and not have to bring it to the council for, to accept it and take it. But just not sure.
So,
Eventually, it's gonna be ours, there's really no way around it, so whether we do it now or next year, it's, sooner or later, it's gonna fall in our lap.
if we take it, can we just close it, so we don't have to worry about having a sexton and doing burials and things like that? We can't just close it? Why?
There are veterans in there.
No, close it to
Close
new
it to new
burials.
burials.
Oh,
And then we wouldn't have to worry about,
Well, we were
Yeah.
kind of hoping to be able to talk somebody else into managing it, one of the other cemetery coalitions. I mean,
good luck with that.
Yeah.
because-
apparently
It
they're
has
nameless.
money.
But she could spend on them from here.
It has its own money, so,
Yeah,
you know,
I just,
It doesn't
I
come-
mean, if the city's prepared to become, I mean, it's,
Oh, yeah, no,
A big deal to
I've
be-
had a meeting with Mark and Billy Clark and Christina, and, yeah, I would agree with you, if that's an option,
let's just
that
close
would be
it.
something we
Yeah.
would wanna explore, so we don't have to worry about the,
Christine said, right now, there are 2 people interested who would like to buy them all.
Mm,
And the issue with that, they have fairly good records, but they're incomplete.
mhm.
So the lots that they want to buy, they don't know if they're being used right now.
oh,
I mean, that's why I just keep going,
Yeah.
just close it,
So-
because if there's bad
Ground-
records and,
Ground penetrating radar is not expensive to have it done, and it's very easy. Usually, to probe a cemetery, I have a probe, and it's just a steel rod, and you push it down until you hear
So-
clunk,
Oh, gosh.
or until you hear nothing. It's,
Ugh,
so
I would
it-
close it. I
So-
mean, because
so-
if someone could own a lot though, and it's a, there's not a casket, it's a, it's a urn.
Urn,
And if you don't have good records, the only reason because I'm going through this with my parents' lot in Lemoyne, trying to figure out what they bought, and if there's, and these private cemeteries that have been taken care of in people's homes, it's just not good, the records aren't that great.
The records here are fairly complete, including the lot lines, lot numbers, so on and so forth. At
Except that-
Brookline, a single lot right now is 900 or 950, I forget which one. And I would price it more or less accordingly, based on that. A full lot, a 20 by 20 lot is $6,000. I think the city could at least pay for the maintenance of it.
Oh, that's what I mean, close it to burials, of course we'd maintain it, because we.
No, I realize
Yeah.
that. But I think you got a large number of people that have ties to that section of Ellsworth or Fletcher's Landing that.
Well, then maybe they'd be interested in taking it over.
And maybe they'd be interested
Yeah,
in
we're
stepping
doing-
up and taking it over.
We got a pretty heavy due diligence project going on, trying to figure out what's the best for it. And I'm pretty confident with Christina. She's got planning background and she's not an idiot. She's proactive and she's looking at all of the options and she's trying to get a hold of everybody there's only, that we know of, 2 people still alive that were on the committee of that. And one of them is Mary White, who's how we got where we are now. And she's basically doesn't want to talk to us anymore. And she just handed over the bank account to the city with TD Bank. And the only issue that we're seeing right now that is weird is that when the land was given for the cemetery, that conveyance was not, there was no deed with Hancock County, so that's an issue. We've got some problems with the deeds.
So before, since the city has not taken it over, we don't own it.
Right.
One of the options I think we should consider is what legally, they have abandoned it, basically. But if we're not going to operate it, why take it over officially? I think legally it probably falls to the municipality anyway, but is there a process for which it closes prior to us ever taking it, and then the only thing that the city then is responsible for is the maintenance because I would assume that once we own it, there's more that we're responsible for, and in fact, the deed and all of that, so I'm wondering if we need to get some answers first to be able to make an informed decision about, do we
Right.
take action before we take ownership?
Well, technically, we can't take ownership because they don't own it technically. So there's some legal issues that we need to work out. We can't technically sell a lot. They really never could technically, legally sell a lot. They did it anyway. And it's gone on, and this is decades that this has been going on. So we're trying to get some help from the county about getting that deed straightened out without getting lawyers, paying lawyers and doing all of that. Because obviously the intent was there. So,
You're gonna need to hire an abstractor to go back to the 1800s and find
1917,
Yeah.
I believe.
1917, yeah, so you're gonna need to hire an abstractor to go back and search those deeds and see how Juniper Cemetery became.
yeah, we
Juniper
have the
Cemetery.
original paperwork, but when we went to go pull the deed from the county, it was never recorded. So we don't have any paperwork conveying that property from the owner to the cemetery association. So if that paperwork exists, we don't have it. But clearly the intent is there because they buried a bunch of people on it and the owner didn't say anything.
possession sign comes
Yeah, squatters' rights.
All right.
So there's some issues, just wanted to keep you in the loop about it. We'll report back in, and we're making Mark help us. So
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
he's the all-knowing cemetery guy, so.
All right, is there anything else? I
Did
did
everyone
want to
sign
ask.
the old warrant, the last warrant?
Yeah, I'll sign everything after. Where are we with Amy and the ARPA funds, and is that on the agenda?
It is not on the agenda for July.
Okay.
Amy just got back from Spain on the 10th, so I haven't had an opportunity to meet with her yet to talk about the track project specifically.
Okay.
So, but I'll reach out to her today and see if she has time to get together next week, and maybe come Friday morning. If we can meet next week, then maybe she can come Friday morning and report out to the group about it.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah. Steve, did you have something?
No.
Oh, you were just waving to Dale.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Is there anything else? Anybody else? All right, I guess we're done.